Hello everyone, I welcome you to another video by Legacy IAS where I'm going to talk about security. Security of India not on the land but in water. Now, ever since we have been, kind of being embroiled by China's expansionist tendencies, the attack of 26/11, it has really given us a realization, and we've realized that yes, we have to look at securing our seas, securing our boundaries. We cannot be oblivious to the reality that we are being surrounded by water on three sides. So we really need to kind of take a look at that as well and not just focus on conventional land security and border security. So in that sense, that over the years, there has been an increased interest of India towards securing its maritime borders. And this particular discussion that I'm going to talk about is all about India's maritime security, some of the initiatives that India has taken, something that's going to be very useful for you as a UPSC aspirant, because you'll be able to input these information definitely in your prelims, but also for your GS paper 2, for mains, and otherwise in any of your essay or interview. So it's very important as to how we look at this particular maritime security. Now, if you look at India's maritime boundary, we have to kind of acknowledge the fact that which are the areas that actually require maritime security from the Indian perspective. So first, we are looking at the coastal areas of India, okay, the exact coast that are there, and the zones which are there in the maritime area, which include the coastlines, the different islands that are there, including Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweep, the internal sea waters, okay, the territorial waters, and the EEZ, the continental shelf. So this is an understanding which is basically how we've kind of divided globally the entire maritime areas of including some of the maritime water areas in the coastal states of that, or rather the boundary of that coastal nation. And further to that, we have the exclusive economic zone. Now, particularly, we're talking of the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, the Andaman Sea, and the other littoral regions where we have this sea coming out. We also kind of extend our areas of the Indian Ocean, particularly to the Gulf of Oman, Aden, as well as the Red Sea. Here also, we need to kind of understand this fact that our maritime boundaries are areas with extremely energy and resourceful regions. So they have a high level of economic value in it. Now, this is not something that is a new phenomena. India has always been the point where seafarers from across the world have always come up and landed up in India. So India, we don't really have that kind of a documentary history to kind of trace that maritime accounts, but of course our interactions through sea kind of dates back to the Greeks and the Roman era. In fact, over the years, India has kind of shifted its approach towards the maritime sea from the freedom to use the seas in 2007 all the way to ensuring seas in 2015. Now, on 1st of June 2018, our current Prime Minister Modi, for the first time articulated this vision of Indo-Pacific region, and it was placed at the very important area of India's engagement with the world. So Indo-Pacific region was kind of seen as the place through which India kind of interacts with the world, and this kind of an idea of Indo-Pacific is based on geographical. Of course, we are surrounded by the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, and the Indian Ocean for that matter. There are a lot of historical traces, grievances, as I just mentioned, interactions globally from ancient, modern, and medieval period as well. Civilizational links which are linked through the Indian Ocean particularly, and the importance of the region in the current as well as for future as far as India's prosperity and security is concerned. So it is this vision with which we are trying to look at these initiatives towards securing maritime security, because they become very important in our discussion. So the first initiative that we're going to talk about is Sagar, which is nothing but security and growth for all in the region. Okay, this entire concept of neighborhood policy is something that is being focused a lot in the present government, and this includes neighborhoods not just in terms of land but in terms of water as well. So when we speak of the maritime region, as you can see in the map, the entire region that we're talking about, all of that, security of all of them is essential for security of anyone, right? So this kind of a vision was articulated in 2015 towards the future of Indian Ocean. Here we are talking of collective action as well as cooperation. And the whole idea is to bring in peace as well as maritime security in the region. The other initiative is the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. This is an initiative particularly led by the Indian Navy to provide a platform to these military leaders to discuss the regional challenges which come up. So India hosts military exercises, naval exercises particularly in the areas of Bay of Bengal, Southeast Asia, the Indian Ocean region, and the different navies of the Indian Ocean countries. So India conducts a lot of patrols with regions like with countries like Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, and also cover in the extended waters of Bay of Bengal. Currently, we have a lot of white shipping agreements with countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and we're also working on moving in the direction with Thailand as well as Indonesia. We also have the initiative called Indian Ocean Rim Association. It's an intergovernmental regional cooperation agreement whereby we're trying to focus a lot on collective action. Here we are looking at membership of 20 countries, of course, including India. The objective is that we need to work on providing regional cooperation, okay, and also attempt to provide sustainable development so that we exploit the resources and use the areas to the extent that we also leave something behind for our future generations. Safety and security of the maritime region, especially in this Indian Ocean region, becomes very, very critical to our agenda of maritime security. This particular IORA also works towards kind of providing some training and capacity building programs to the other countries because India really kind of understands that, especially in its neighborhood and its foreign policy that is concerned, that we need to kind of strengthen our neighbors as well for us to also sustain in the long run, because what happens is the spillover effect of its neighbors are sooner or later in direct or indirect ways going to be felt by us. So it's also very important from the security perspective that if your neighbor's house is on fire, we need to realize that we cannot be kind of away from it for very long. So safety and security of the entire Indian Ocean region kind of becomes critical for India's maritime security. So this is the discussion whereby in case those are the countries who do not have the capacity to kind of protect themselves, then India works towards capacity building programs. India, in fact, has taken a lot of efforts through its programs like INTAC and ITEC, where it constantly tries through different endeavors to build in capacities of its neighbors, of other countries of the world, including, let's say, what we've seen in the case of COVID as well. So our capacity building initiatives have really given India a very good name and a very good soft power globally, including the Indian Ocean region. This particular initiative is actually voluntary. The Indian Ocean IONS, it also tries to bring the navies as well as the chiefs to kind of come together, like I was just mentioning to you, so that they can enhance their cooperation further. So we often kind of work towards bringing in these navies together, trying to work on capacity building and focus also on a leadership meeting of the heads of these navies in the different countries. Also, there is also a inclusion of an information fusion center as a part of this maritime security. We cannot really be devoid of data, and India has over the years, through a lot of space technology, tried to develop information sector as far as surveillance mechanisms. So information fusion center is basically with the objective of bringing in all the information together so that we have adequate amount of accurate as well as timely maritime security information. So of course, firstly, getting the right information is also very, very essential. besides depending upon completely on the intelligence, we also can use technology to kind of monitor the situation and have good surveillance. So in this regard, one of an area which is kind of picked up over the years among the navies is the fact that how we can have awareness in the maritime domain through this maritime domain awareness program, which is trying to create or increase situational awareness at the sea, so that we're able to respond to different kinds of scenarios. So firstly, you kind of trying to also have a sense of preparedness, and with accurate information and situational awareness, where you're trying to prep up at the different about the different situations that probably can come up, and then how to respond to them. I think that's a great strategy to kind of move ahead in the maritime domain as well. What we also need to understand is the fact that this particular Indian Ocean region also needs to be harnessed well. So one of the initiative in this regard is the concept of blue economy, which is based on the idea that oceans are going to or have already become centers of economic activity. So this idea of a blue economy is ideally based on the concept that we need to use the locally available resources and use the locally available inputs to kind of harness the efforts, the inputs from this particular region. This includes sustainable use of ocean resources, essential for the growth, jobs, and providing good living standards to the people of that particular region. We can also focus on areas like maritime transport and the ocean related industries like fishery, renewable energy, waste management, and tourism has really picked up as far as the Indian Ocean region has concerned. Now, of course, we need to kind of understand that the geostrategic significance, the geographical location which has a strategic importance, is very essential for India's economic growth, as a lot of countries' oil as well as gas is kind of imported through this route. So it becomes a very important sea lanes of communication as well as supply chain model. Our other initiative includes the project Mausam, which is a multidisciplinary project which is trying to focus on the ties, the links, the sea links which were there, of the Indian Ocean in the ancient period. So we had the pre-modern times. In the pre-modern times, we had sailors coming or using seasonal monsoon and the trade winds to move towards Indian Ocean, and this has led to a lot of exchanges, knowing about India, knowing about this land, whereby sailors from far off lands have come and landed up on India. So this particular concept of Mausam, whereby Mausam of course means the seasonal reversal of winds. So this winds which is bringing India, or rather the sailors of the world towards India, that kind of connect has been emphasized. So there is a focus towards revising or kind of visiting these old cultural relations in the region, and also use this opportunity whereby India is becoming the point of convergence, so to kind of bring these cultures and economies and societies together and find altogether new partnerships, develop altogether new partnerships in the Indian Ocean region. We also kind of are looking at a stretch between starting all the way from Africa along the peninsular region and Iran to South Asia, Sri Lanka, and all the way to Southeast Asia. So the kind of boundaries that you see, which was like used in the ancient times as well, is now also being continued, revisited, and established again. It really allows India to kind of connect with its old partners of the Indian Ocean world. Okay, so this particular project was also, Mausam was kind of using our existing resources, existing ideas, and then bringing together. One such very important over the years, which has gained a lot of attention, is the Sagar Mala project. Now, as the word indicates, Sagar is of course the sea, the ocean, the river that we're talking about, but also the kind of Mala is like a chain. So what kind of a chain are we trying to develop? Something of a concept which came way back in 2003, when then the then Prime Minister came up with the objective that we really need to kind of modernize this particular area of the Indian Ocean region and the littoral nations that are there, so that we are able to expand India's maritime sector. We will be able to do this through developing ports, through developing infrastructure, so that we'll be able to transport goods okay, through these ports much more efficiently and in a much more cost effective manner. So developing the ports in this particular region. Now, if you look at a parallel to this, like let's say for example what Belt and Road Initiative of China is trying to do, it's trying to connect all the land and the sea routes from China all the way, let's say, to Europe. And they're doing that through different infrastructural projects so that all these ports and areas can be utilized for them to kind of sell their products and, of course, the markets to absorb the Chinese products. Now, this particular program of Sagar Mala actually identified 600 plus projects with an investment of 8 lakh crore. The kind of date which was given was, of course, 2020. Now, this particular project was launched by the Ministry of Shipping, and there was a lot of focus on port-led development. Okay, so if you develop ports, that's how the concept of SEZs also are doing very well, that you have ports and they will be kind of leading to development. And in this regard, we need to really kind of modernize the ports through the use of information technology. So when something with the use of technology can be done much more efficiently and effectively, so we might as well use that to our advantage. This particular Sagar Mala project also addresses the issue then of underutilized ports. Okay, a large infrastructure port requires a large infrastructure, land. Okay, so if any of those are getting non-utilized or underutilized, then we can focus upon the modernization of these ports so that there can be efficient evacuation and also the development along the coastal areas. Under particularly this Make in India program, we are working on benefiting and promoting the shipping industry through this regard. This particular industry, there's a realization that it has a multiplier effect on investment as well as industrial growth. When you're trying to kind of create good infrastructure at the very entry and exit points, then it really kind of enhances or promotes your investments for the growth, and ultimately the entire industry booms and prospers. There are also within this concept the coastal economic zones with an investment of course $150 million per location, focusing on the development of these coastal communities. Okay, because if the locals are kind of enhanced and their capacity building is done through understanding the analysis of the gap that is there, the skill development centers that can be done, we will be able to sustainably use the ocean resources, and also modern fishing techniques can be adopted. Our coastal tourism can also further enhance if our locals are kind of upgraded in this regard. So several green initiatives have also been taken with regards to green initiative, something which is trying to promote more sustainable uses like solar power generation for various ports for providing them with the required amount of electricity. Now, as I was telling you about this capacity development programs, there are also several community interaction programs where the Indian Coast Guards tries to conduct awareness activities with the local population and the fishermen in particular. Now, these first touch points who are the local communities and the fishermen can really play a very important role as far as both our security as well as development of trade and industry is concerned. We cannot ignore their contribution to, or rather their effect and influence to the entire port development. And in that sense, these community interaction programs through several initiatives like the Sagar Rakshak Dal and the Village Vigilance Committee are there to assist the security agencies so that they are best able to have surveillance activity, trying to enhance intelligence as well as patrolling, and also contribute finally to coastal security. These are some of the things which you've tried to do, or rather have benefited us in the land boundaries. We've seen that India has gone on to wars with several countries, and in that sense, the local intelligence and their understanding and their perception has been extremely valuable inputs as far as our security is concerned. So if we kind of make them aware and prepare them accordingly, we'll be able to immensely enhance our surveillance as well as intelligence. So our communication channels need to be strengthened with shore-based control centers which can be manned or overlooked by the Indian Coast Guard personnel in all the states and union territories, so that there is good amount of interaction and communication among these coastal states. These measures, of course, can help us in providing security, providing a link between these fishermen and the security agencies. So the fishing communities, they are a very important component of coastal security. So we really need to kind of enhance their participation in our entire framework of coastal security. So this is how we kind of have given or talked about some of the very important initiatives that government has taken with regards to maritime security, coastal surveillance and intelligence, sometimes with the use of locals, sometimes with the use of information technology. So kind of a blend amongst all of them is something that's really, really essential for us to kind of secure our borders in the sea. So I hope you have enjoyed watching these particular initiatives, and if you appreciate what the government of India has done so far, let me know by liking the button here and also sharing it with those who stay in the coastal areas but are not aware of these security initiatives. Keep subscribing for more such informative videos on Legacy IAS.